he's even before winning Unbound, he still had quite a. I mean, it changed a lot after he won, obviously, but I
Yeah.
mean, he's running around at the expo with his dad, doing push-ups to get some free sunglasses here, picking up nutrition from somewhere and getting his bike, and so it's a lot of like that, and then the night before doing I mean, one of my favorite scenes of the Unbound film was like nutrition prep the night
Yeah.
before with
Yeah.
his parents, where like his dad's pinning on his number and his mom is making like peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and like they're cracking jokes, and it's just like that's the stuff that you don't see.
Right.
And that's the stuff that really, I think our mentality around the content is to highlight the personality of these
Yep.
people, of these athletes. um, and I think, yeah, that's the stuff like, doing practicing the hand ups, of like with the musette and just on a random neighborhood street.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, it was a lot of just like following him around and whatever he's up to. I'm there in it.
What's going on, everybody? My name is JP, and I want to welcome you here to the Stable Cyclist podcast, where we talk about bikes, life mentality, and when the occasion arises, we will, of course, deep dive into mental health. I hope you are having a good day so far today. I hope if you're not, our conversation today lifts your spirits. Danny Awang is here with me today. Danny is the primary videographer for Cam Jones and for Scott Bikes. And if you have seen any of the Cam Jones episodes that have come out this year, Danny is the man behind the camera and the edit. And this conversation is incredible and dives into just how important community is, just how important it is for people to open doors for us in those communities and let us in, and what happens when we give ourselves to those communities and the things that can happen. But before we get Danny into the studio, I want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Flow Formulas. Flow Formulas has been a partner of mine for the past 3 years, and they are continuing into 2026 with me, and it is what you are looking for on the bike. If you got a big adventure or even just wanting to have a solid training day, you want Flow Formulas in your bottle. And when you go to their website and go to checkout, you can use the code JohnPeter15 at checkout for a discount on those goodies. One more thing before we get into the interview. If you are enjoying what you hear on the Stable Cyclist podcast, I want to first make sure that you are following along, whether it's on the audio platforms, it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or the others. Make sure you have hit that follow button so that every week when the new episodes come out, we've got some good ones coming in December, that you have them at your fingertips. And the other thing would be, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you have hit that subscribe button again so it shows up on a regular basis in your feed. All right, enough of all that. Let's get Danny Awang in the studio. Well, Danny Awang, welcome to the Stable Cyclist podcast, man. It is great to have you here. You are the third person in our kind of creator series that's going on for the next year. And yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I got quality shoes to fill following Tilly and Brett, all good friends. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. So I think obviously we're going to talk a lot about working with Cam Jones in the year that Cam Jones had, but I want to always get started with kind of your entry into what we're doing. And obviously when I have a professional on the show, we're going to talk about how did you get into bikes? And sometimes that crosses over into this, but how do you end up doing this? How do you end up in the world that you're in, I guess, to start with? Or maybe it goes way further back and more simple into how do you get into film?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I guess my story probably starts with the camera before the bike. I I can't even remember, honestly. I think maybe in like middle school or something, I found one of my parents' old camcorders in a box somewhere, and started filming the iconic skate videos with my friends, which is as Brett mentioned, a common theme amongst all of us. But I don't know. I always found it as a way to like document my life, document what was happening. And in high school, I also took photography class where like I just I spent some time in the dark room, and my family we'd go on trips, and like I just got into like landscape stuff, and just as a way to just document like what I was seeing and experiencing. And then I found bikes much later. I guess actually I had a little hiatus of, or I had a chapter of attempting to do freelance media right out of high school, doing like educational YouTube content, whatever I could kind of get work doing. And it was like 50 bucks a video, and kind of insane to think about in hindsight, but that kind of burnt me out. And then I didn't touch the camera for a few years actually, until like uh it must have been like 2019 or something. I was just inspired again to document my life, and had a little Sony. Um, and I guess I found bikes during like right before COVID, maybe. Um, I just picked up this old like fixie off of Facebook Marketplace because it was like springtime. I was like, I need to get outside more, and I need to just get active. Weather's nice. So it was like I was so new to like I was confused why the guy wasn't selling pedals with the bike. I was like, how am I supposed to ride this? And now I know I guess it's a thing, bring your own pedals. Um, but anyways, like I just was riding a ton, and like rediscovering my love like for the camera as well. And I was at the time just kind of working this random marketing job that actually a friend who started like a bidet company. I was just doing marketing stuff for him, and I was just like, you know what, I'm kind of over this. And then I was really into bikes at the time. And then I just was like Googling like bike races around me to just show up at. And at first, just to like volunteer and kind of involve myself with the scene. And I discovered cyclocross. And then
Where is all
it's
this
kind of,
happening? Where's the
yeah.
setting of this story?
So I grew up in Maryland.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, a lot of road riding around there, and like the cyclocross scene is actually pretty lively in the Mid Atlantic. I guess similar circles to Brett, and I
Yep.
yeah. So I kind of grew up there, and now I guess I live in Colorado now, but um, following gravel and whatnot. But that's kind of the short of my story into where I'm at now. I guess I mean
Yeah.
I've only been doing this in this kind of form with like the start of the Lifetime Grand Prix.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I went to local races, and then actually the first year of the Grand Prix, I reached out to Jeremiah Bishop. I was fellow East Coast Mid
Yep.
Atlantic guy,
Yep.
and he was actually in the Grand Prix the first year, and I just shot him like a cold. I mean, I'd followed him and Tyler through the Impossible Route
Yep.
stuff, and I was like, very randomly, I did it via like a video message instead of like a text, because I was like, maybe he's more likely to like actually watch this if I do a video. And then I went on a bike ride, and I just like put my phone on like do not disturb. I was like so anxious about it. And then like halfway through my ride, I was like, let me just check. And I saw that he replied, and I was like floored. And he was like, yo, let's chat. So anyways, I the first year of the Grand Prix, I basically just followed him around, and then I met the people of the world and the scene, and um, I guess 4 years later, here we are.
Yeah. When you think about that guy at cyclocross races just messing around with a Sony camera, and you think about what you're doing like this year, where you were, and the people you were with, and the stories you got to tell. When you think about that guy, at cyclocross races, does he even have in his mind can you believe now even what you've gotten to go do?
No, honestly, no. I mean, the first race I showed up to, because like I didn't know the difference between like road racing, mountain bike racing, cyclocross. Like I didn't know there was disciplines. I was just like, it just happened to be November or December, and I was like trying to find whatever races were happening near me, and then I'm like, we're riding around like this grass field in a park. I was like, this is nuts, and like people were stoked, and it was like it was wild. And I guess I didn't really know anything about like what bike racing was at that time.
Sure.
But I mean, obviously the bug bit me, and I just full sent into everything about cycling.
Yeah. Well, and I think people like Jeremiah Bishop is a very special human, and I can attest to that as well. When we were getting ready to do our first documentary in the bike world, I did a very similar thing to you. It wasn't a video, but it was just a cold message for the same reason you just said of like, hey, he and Tyler were doing cool stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm working on this project. I could use some advice. And he called and talked to me for like an hour. Just
Yep.
like, but those conversations are so huge. And there's so many, every single person that I either have talked to or am going to talk to in this world of media, we have some kind of story like that where somebody just picked up the phone and took a chance. And mainly it's because mostly people are helpful in the
Yeah.
world. And where, you know, where did you go from that point? You know, you said as the Grand Prix started, you got involved with Jeremiah. And then where do things go from that point? As you network, as you sit around at races, and people don't understand, for those of us, like, yes, we go like full speed, 100 miles an hour through the day, but there are these times where we like stand around literally in a ditch for 20 minutes waiting for everybody to get there. And it's kind of, you know, that's when you just kind of shoot the with people and you get to know them, and you're essentially networking whether you're trying to or not. So how do things progress for you, and what do your jobs start to look like?
Yeah. Um, it's funny. I think honestly, it's funny you mention that because I feel like a lot of the most memorable moments from race weekends are like, you know, the dinners before or like standing on the side of a road in the middle of nowhere and just chopping it up. Um, but yeah, that first season with Jeremiah, I basically was just like willing to just do whatever. It's not
Yeah.
like there was like budget or anything. Like I just wanted to be at the races. And it's funny, like before Sea Otter, he actually like had we had plans, everything. Like everything was like booked. And he actually was at like on a training ride and crashed and tore his ACL and decided not to race Sea Otter. Well, this has kind of affected his whole season in a way,
Yeah.
but I
Yep.
was like, I guess I'll still go. Which it was like full imposter syndrome, you know, standing on the racetrack. Like I remember seeing like I followed. It's funny thinking about this now, of seeing like Alex Roscoe, who's like one of my
Yeah.
best friends now,
Yep.
like from a distance, just like, oh my god, like that's Alex Roscoe, and like I was too afraid to say hi. Um, and then like we would eventually formally meet at Unbound, like through Jeremiah, because he had also worked with Tyler and Jeremiah. So,
Okay.
anyways, I got to roll with Jeremiah, and I think the honestly like what he kind of gave to me was even more. What I tell people is like way more valuable than any like typical budget. Like I got to stay with him usually at like the Canyon housing, and I got to meet people like Pete and like other people at like Canyon and like Big Tall
Yep.
Wayne, all these people. And I met, you know, like John from Orange Seal and Ryan Standish, like all these people that like now I consider like really close friends. Like I met through Jeremiah. And like I showed up at Unbound, um, showed up at Leadville and Big Sugar. And um that season I was just basically making videos for his YouTube channel and meeting people along the way. And I guess what progressed was like that maybe at Big Sugar really was kind of the turning point where I got to know a lot of people, like a lot of the racers, and build relationships with, you know, different people. And at Big Sugar, I actually Jeremiah couldn't go because he actually broke his tailbone right before Big Sugar, but I still decided to go. And I was just like tossing out feelers like, hey, I'm here. If anybody needs any content or whatever, I'm willing to, shoot and figure it out as we go. And I ended up making a little reel for Cole and Sevilla, who were riding Scott at the time.
Yep.
Um, and basically that kind of was the first like point of contact with like Scott as a brand and different people. And then the following season, um, basically just kind of was like I had to be a little proactive in the off
Yeah.
season about trying to get work and whatnot. And they were actually trying to make a film on Ryan at Unbound the following year. And basically, just through building like a friendship with Ryan, he basically recommended me to
Hmm.
make it. And that was my probably first like big project on the scene in terms of like at the Lifetime Grand Prix races.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, basically made that project. And then, you know, I can't remember what, if anything came of following that year, but basically that kind of was the beginning of the snowball of like me doing formal work and then people starting to recognize my work. And obviously, the guys at Scott liked my work. And I just, that was kind of, that's the bread and butter of like most of my work nowadays, and it kind of all stemmed from that, to be honest.
Yeah. People, I don't think people understand the value of like being let into a community by someone and like how it just, and not just in this world, but like in life.
Yeah,
When we like welcome somebody into a community and you're talking about like, it was impactful that I got to stay at the house, right? And I know
yep,
that for me this year, there's a lot of relationships now that have opened up through other things because of being allowed to stay, or Chase saying, "Hey, you're going to come stay here with us." But and then just the trust of being a kind of a servant at Big Sugar, it sounds like, and getting some opportunities there. I Are you working at all in another job during this time period?
yeah. Well, I guess that first season with Jeremiah, I was actually working at a bike shop, and they were super gracious with me. Honestly, being able to like leave for a week to go to Unbound, leave for a week to go to Sea Otter, um, and then I think the following season. Um, Before Sea Otter, I basically just like fully committed and I basically left that job. And I was like, I have to, in order to make this work, I just need to be kind of present at or available for whatever might come up. Which is, I guess, a bit of a gamble because it could have worked, not worked. But for me, like my goal was just to like immerse myself. So like that season, when I quit my job, I drove to Sea Otter from Maryland and just did like a 6 week trip through like basically I think it was actually like 8 weeks from like Sea Otter through like Unbound.
Yeah.
Maybe after Unbound, I was just like at a race every single weekend. Um, and maybe that was kind of the like gasoline on the fire kind of
Yep.
thing where it's just
Yep.
like, and I was just wanted to make whatever. I didn't need to like find work. I just was really excited about it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it kind of? I'm just always fascinated when people take that step from one career into another. Essentially, even if it's kind of tangential. What the was it? Was there fear involved, or were you just like, "Hey, I want to do this, and I've got to go now if I'm going to do it"?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a little bit of fear, maybe just like not. I guess it was less kind of outcome based fear. It's just more of like the unknown of it.
Sure.
Because I think I felt kind of secure. It was like, even if this doesn't work, like it would be a cool story, or I could always, fall back to the bike shop or, find some other work. But yeah, it was just kind of I feel like a lot of my decisions is just in like whatever is kind of intriguing to me in the moment, and I'll just pursue that. And I, for better or worse, I don't think too far ahead.
That's all right. That's all
Yeah.
right. Sometimes that's how we make things happen. So,
Yeah.
so let's get to this year, because I would guess that where things ended is not at all where you thought things might go. What did you have kind of coming into the year with Scott, and did you know even who Cam Jones really was? And let's.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, I think the plan this year is like going into it was all right, we have I guess to start with Cam, honestly, like I got to spend a bit of time with him last season because he was, I guess, kind of indirectly supported by Scott Sports through I think it was a shop or a distributor in New Zealand. But basically he was, committed to racing over here. And so anyways, he stayed with us at Steamboat last year. And I
Okay.
think I met him before that as well. But I got to really spend a bit of time with him at Steamboat last year, so I got to know who he is. Um, and then going into this year, we knew that he was going to be like formally supported by Scott USA. And I think going into the year, it's a lot of like, all right, we'll pencil in a few races or certain like, you know, in previous years, we've always had like a specific story at Unbound. The first one with Ryan. Last year was with Iz. Um, so we kind of pencil in a couple of ideas of what could work, and then the rest kind of plays out depending on how the season unfolds. But I think the big thing that we talked about in like January or something was because Cam had applied to be in the Grand Prix
Yeah.
and didn't get in, but he was very committed to going for that wild card spot. Um, so I think the big focus was to make a 2 episode series about Sea Otter and Unbound, with him, attempting to get into the series. And then we didn't really talk about much beyond that. I think we were all pretty like, optimistic that he could get in. But we didn't really like make any plans for like content or anything around that beyond that. But so just committed to those 2 races and then kind of go from there.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I do have some breaking news about a new exciting gravel series in the Midwest kicking off this year. Chase Wark is hosting the North Star Gravel Series, which is 4 events of varied disciplines in the gravel world spread across 6 months' time. And best of all, there is a $10,000 payout that'll be split across the top 10 of the men and women in that series if you are able to complete all 4 events. And everything gets kicked off with Granny's Gravel Grinder in May. That falls on May 2nd. That is followed by the Hot Dish on June 13th and 14th, a 2-day event in Winona, Minnesota. The Day Across Minnesota is August 1st, and the Filthy 50 is October 10th. Registration for the North Star Gravel Series will open January 1st. Now, the registration for the individual events will not open until the 3rd, or in the case of the Filthy 50, it doesn't open until in June. And so if you want to get your spot, and these races will sell out because they did last year, especially the Day Across Minnesota. If you want to have your spot in the series, you can get it on January 1st. Go ahead and get registered. All 4 races, total cost for registration, if you register all at the same time, is $345 total. That is the same cost or cheaper than racing at Unbound in a single event. Guarantee your spot, like I said, for all the events by registering at bikereg.com. I will have a link in the description below if you're interested in checking that out. And as I said, the North Star Gravel Series is here. It is put on by Chase Wark, and his events do not disappoint. So if you are into gravel racing and you want to go on a wild adventure throughout Minnesota, across the entire state during the year, the North Star Gravel Series is for you. Check it out in the link today. So you go to Sea Otter. He has a decent result there.
Yeah.
Going into Unbound, what are your... Because like people... I don't know that people always understand how closely we are with these athletes, and like you can get a really good read if you're following somebody with a camera for multiple days of
Mhm.
like, I think this is going to go well, or this might go sideways. And so were you starting to get the feeling that like, man, he's really on one right now and he could go and have a big result here at Unbound?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I guess the first indicator for me was last year at Steamboat because he was in contention for the win at that race, off the front, at an altitude kind of climbing type race with he was in, that select group, and he flatted out of that and had like a basically just, nothing
Yeah.
extraordinary result wise. But basically in talking to him even before he came over for Sea Otter, just understanding like the training he's been doing and knowing how skilled he was. The funny thing about Sea Otter actually was that he actually got sick like the week before. Um, and knowing he was, I mean, he's pretty like level headed and, um, doesn't doesn't really panic, even though like I knew that it was a big bummer because he had
Yeah.
prepared so well and he was actually like pretty confident he could win that race. Um, but based on, getting sick, and he felt pretty content with what it was. But even speaking to him after Sea Otter, it was like he knows that one of those days where it all comes together will is kind of on the horizon for him.
Right.
Um, and I think just like, yeah, like getting to spend time with him, um, you kind of build this trust and belief in like this, like he knows what he's capable of. And I basically just trusted like, and like, yeah, he can do this, if it all kind of goes together, for him. So going into Unbound, like he obviously anything can happen on race day, but we're like this. I mean, the saying he always said is he's got as good a shot as anybody,
Yeah.
and like he truly believed it, and basically it was just being there ready in case it all came together.
So let's talk through what that inbound day is like from our side, because I it's not so different from the athletes, other than that we are not riding our bicycles. But
Yeah.
yeah, what does a day look like for you, and what are you looking to get done, and how much do you look at a course like Unbound ahead of time to make sure you go to the right spots?
Yeah. It's funny. I guess this year was my fourth Unbound.
Okay.
I guess I did 2 years going south, 2 years going north. So like going into this year, I was pretty familiar with the course. So I didn't really do a ton of um, work because I keep my pins from previous years, so it just kind of makes it easier every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And I think, and to be honest, like this year is a little bit different because knowing, I guess Cam's strategy this year is different than like stories at Unbound that I've worked on in previous years. Where it's like, okay, he might make a move here, or this is like a
Right.
select point,
Right.
or like usually I'm not super keen on feed zones, but this year at Unbound, I knew his parents were going to be there and I
Right.
wanted to get a bit of that. So I made like almost like, a feed zone is more important than another side of the road or making a turn on a 90-degree like dirt road. Um, so yeah, this year is kind of like a lot of the heavy lifting was before the race. And because that's really where like the story was, working on long form pieces. It's like I make the priority to get there earlier because we need to do the interviews, we need to get some pre-ride, we need to,
Yeah.
do all these things. And I mean, my mentality for these races is like I'm just gonna follow him.
Yeah. Yep.
Like whatever he's up to is what I need to document. um so like it looked like, I mean, he's even before winning Unbound, he still had quite I mean, it changed a lot after he won, obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's running around at the expo with his dad, doing push-ups to get some free sunglasses here, picking up nutrition from somewhere and getting his bike and, so it's a lot of like that. And then, the night before doing I mean, one of my favorite scenes of the Unbound film was like, nutrition prep the night
Yeah.
before with
Yeah.
his parents, where like his dad's pinning on his number and his mom is making like peanut butter jelly sandwiches and like they're cracking jokes, and it's just like that's the stuff that you don't see.
Right.
And that's the stuff that really, I think our mentality around the content is to highlight the personality of these
Yep.
people, of these athletes. um and I think, yeah, that's the stuff like, doing practicing the hand ups, of like with the musette and just on a random neighborhood street.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
it was a lot of just like following him around and whatever he's up to. I'm there, and at Big Sugar, it meant getting on the paddle boards and finding a dead fish. Just whatever he's doing, it's like gotta follow him with a camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So how hard I asked Brett this, and I said, how hard is it to control your emotions while you're trying to do your job? Because like if you get too emotionally invested, like your job sucks at what you're doing. And in these, especially a race like Unbound, where all of a sudden your guy is in the break of two and then eventually wins. How hard was it to really stay lasered in on what you were doing and not get emotionally into it? And then after too, because like filming the chaos after the race of a winner is like, it's very chaotic, and you're
yeah.
trying to like be happy for this person that you have a relationship with and care about, and at the same time you have to do your job with the camera. So tell me about that, whether it's on at Unbound or a Big Sugar or Little Sugar, or any of these races where you really had a lot going on.
Yeah. I think I like we all know, like we develop relationships and we know how much they work for like these like single day performances. And I've been on the side of like seeing someone who's like so motivated to do well at Leadville, and I see them, coming down power line with a flat and knowing what that means. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I find myself like I'm good at, like, I obviously feel for them, and I'm just like take the moment to like, wow, that's brutal. But you still have like kind of a job to do, and I think, I guess, on the kind of more like negative side, I always err on like giving space,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it's like, if it's a tough day, you don't want to have a camera shoved in your face, and I take a little bit of erring on that side. But when the day's going super well, like at Unbound, it was crazy. Just understanding like, I guess, our plans, because you typically I will get coverage for like all of the Scott athletes,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but knowing like, okay, Cam is off the front with Simone, and he has the chance to podium, if not win this race. We kind of have to go all in, and who's the guy at Scott? He's on the ground in the feed zones as well, so he's we're kind of we're kind of bouncing like during the race, and I'm like, this is like the story that we're in all in on, and he's like, yeah, green light. So it is crazy, like driving after my last spot. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I'm driving back to town, like freaking out. Like, I'll get the shot, I can compose myself, but as I'm like driving or running back to the car, I'm just like, there's no way this is happening right now. And at the finish line, I mean, we're freaking out and just like watching the live stream. um it was kind of nuts to like, obviously, like be there for him as a friend, and all
Yeah.
this, but the camera's still rolling.
Yeah.
And it's still just like documenting the whole thing. Like, I don't know if there's like photos of me or whatever, it's like I'm pointing the camera at him with the biggest smile on my face.
Yeah.
um
How
and
much
yeah.
how much pressure did you feel on that finish line shot at Unbound? Because like it's one thing to do well at Little Sugar or whatever, but like Unbound is Unbound. It's the race, and your guy's winning, and he's gonna post up, and
Yeah.
people are gonna ask for that footage. So
Yeah. I know, it was kind of nuts. And I think, I don't know, like in that moment, I had to call a bit of an audible because I knew I wanted the reaction. Um, and the shoot was so long that I was like, I'm not going to be able to like be at the line in like the photo pit and like run back and get that first moment. Um, so I had a good buddy, Hank, who was shooting. I mean, he does a lot of stuff for Never Second. I was
Yep.
like, hey, dude, can I like pay you to get like the post up shot while I'm like at the end of the shoot? Obviously, he's super gracious. So, anyways, just having to think on the fly and do that, and then
Yep.
I was there at the end to get like him kind of yelling, and obviously getting the hug with mom and dad and popping the champagne. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was like, this is the shot, and at the end of the day, it's like, I'll keep it in focus, keep it in frame,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
don't make it too shaky. That's kind of what's going through my head, but it's kind of muscle memory at this point.
Yeah. 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 How fast did you turn that video? Was that within a week?
Uh, that one was maybe 2-ish weeks.
Okay.
It was a little tough because we had a timeline like set, um, but we kind of had like a shorter time just in case like we get a podium or like a win.
Yeah.
Um, which I wasn't fully prepared for on the back end because
Sure.
I had like a 3 or 4 day shoot, like the week after that. So I'm kind of like, driving back and trying to edit and do all the short form stuff. So we got it done, but it was a bit of a grind.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so I want to, and people, I'm going to put the links in the, even though like I'm not affiliated with Scott, I'm going to put the links to your videos with Cam in the description of
Yeah,
this because they're really well done. It's great storytelling.
appreciate that.
And also because selfishly, one of my clips snuck into the Unbound video
Yes.
without you even knowing it.
Without even me knowing, yeah. Cam was just like, "Hey, I got this clip from somebody." Like, so I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll use this."
Yeah.
Which on me, I probably should have did some digging and maybe asked you,
It's
but
all, no.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I laughed so hard. My son had asked a couple weeks ago if we could watch that video, and I was like, sure. And then they came through, and I was like, that's my shots to my son, and he's like, what? How'd that get in there? And I'm like, I think I know. So all good.
Yeah,
You sound like you do a ton of, or almost exclusively freelance work. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so do you have like your own, how I would view this is like your own production company or whatever, where you're also doing some passion projects at times, or is there only time for freelance stuff for you?
Um, I'd say it's basically all freelance work. In March through October,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting. Like nowadays, I I feel like I almost consider doing any cyclocross work as like passion project in a
Sure.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's not like, I don't know, lately there hasn't been a ton of budget, or just like, I guess
Spare
like
change lying
yeah,
around.
formal work opportunities to like make things in cross. But
Yeah.
like last year I worked with Ben. I'm not sure if you know Ben Frederick.
Yep.
He basically crowdfunded a YouTube video series for basically to get me over to join him on his European campaign.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I kind of stuck around, and then I showed up at a couple of the World Cups, and I went to Worlds, basically just because I mean I used to do a ton of work in
Yep.
cross for USA Cycling, and I still have like tons of friends who race, and I love the sport. So like when I can, I try to make an effort to, that's kind of my off season like work slash vacation,
Yeah.
um, to do some of that stuff. But yeah, it's kind of during the season, it's just not really a ton of time because I'm either like, going from race to race, or, when I'm home, I'm editing. So there's not really a ton of time or mental bandwidth to do, a bit of uh like passion work or
Sure.
other stuff.
Do you have like a document tucked away somewhere with like, man, if I could ever make these projects work, I would like to go do these, like this story or this project, if I could find the time and the funding for it.
To be honest, I really don't.
Okay.
um I think I one of my kind of objectives this winter is because I do want to do more things that like are less I don't know what the word is, like, you know,
Yeah.
like maybe outside of the box of like, the Grand Prix calendar. And
Right.
actually, I got to do some really cool stuff with Ryan the past couple of years on his adventures. And I mean, they're not exactly like they're not I mean, I'm very passionate about them, but I am getting paid for them as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but stuff outside of racing is always really exciting to me because there's a little bit more room for a little bit of creativity and
Yeah.
a different type of storytelling. And obviously, I love races, but I think I'd like to incorporate some other, you know, outside of the box storytelling.
Yeah. How, you kind of mentioned at the very start, you, even in middle school, picking up that camera kind of gave you creative voice and all that. Do you feel, even in like this essentially commercial freelance stuff that you're doing now, are you still able to really find that creative voice and like give like Danny's spin on what is happening?
I think so. I guess what I feel like I don't know if I would call it like a style or like I feel like I'm a very observant person, and I think it's like the little moments or certain things that I see. And honestly, like I feel very lucky to be in the position that I'm in with, I guess, like Scott specifically, and great people to work with, and a great ton of athletes that I consider friends. And it's really like almost like there's nothing I'd rather be doing, and I just happen to make a living like documenting what's happening. And yeah, I think that's kind of like the foundation of the way I work. And it's just like, yeah, just kind of observing and documenting. And yeah, like the relationships of it are almost like primary to like the creation of
A hundred
content or
percent.
whatever.
Yes. 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot of serious talking, Danny. And I feel like we need to progress into some more random topics here as we
Yeah.
kind of move towards the end. Normally, when I have the pros on, we talk about going on a long, long bike ride and stopping at a gas station. But you and I and Brett and Tilly, we all know that the thing we need to talk about is our snake meal on race day. Whether that's, in Brett's case, a breakfast big enough to feed like a small army, or like in Tilly's case, what we eat when we're done and we're finally ready to tap out. So, what is what does your day of food look like on race day? Is there a huge breakfast, or is there a big, like I remember going to a Mexican restaurant at Unbound and eating more food than I've eaten in a long time when we were done that day at Unbound, and some terrible gas station food in between. So, what does it look like
Yeah.
for you on race day?
Yeah. I feel like I don't have a like a go-to. Brett's breakfast sounded pretty insane, but I to be honest, like when we're waking up that early for a race, like my appetite is just not there yet. So like the night before, I'll get like I don't know, like whatever I could find, like probably a terrible pastry at a gas station, just like some type of muffin or like a croissant or something, just to like throw in the bag beforehand. And I'll either eat that when I wake up, or like I'll eat that like after the start on the way to wherever my first spot
That's what
is.
I was gonna ask. Yep.
Yeah, like I don't have like I'm either like too stressed or like still waking up that I can't force myself to eat anything, and needing to get the carbs in before the day is not a deal breaker for us. So, and I guess my thing is I do no coffee on race day
Oh,
because
wow.
I'm too afraid to have to pull over on the side of the road. So I'm just strict
Fair.
no coffee on race day.
Okay. Yeah, fair. Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of people are like, what do you eat for breakfast? And I'm like, I don't eat breakfast because, like, whoever I'm following gets up at 3:30 in the morning, and I basically turn the camera on and start filming them eat cornflakes or whatever they're having. And
Exactly.
I don't have time unless I get up earlier, and I don't want to get up earlier.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's, yeah, usually once the race is down the road and we're in a truck or something where I can shovel in a protein bar and a Red Bull. So
Yep. Exactly.
okay, so then as the day goes, what are we nibbling on or eating in the truck or in the vehicle?
Yeah. I think I'll typically get chomp little meat sticks have been a go-to this year. Mixed with like honestly, I think the biggest game changer this season was stashing a couple electrolytes in the car for especially like Unbound or the long days because I'm like dehydrated and I'm bonked. Um, so I'll do like my appetite's not that big, and honestly, sometimes like I'll forget to eat, and then next thing you know, I'm on the way to the finish, and I'm like, okay, so like it chomps an uncrustable and an electrolyte, and
Right
then
on.
Garth will have some like fig bars at the finish line that if I forget to eat, I can count on one of those.
Yeah. Okay. And then is there a big post race meal somewhere?
Yes. Usually like we'll go out to dinner as a crew. So it kind of just, you know, I'll let those guys just pick a spot because I'll eat whatever. I think at Unbound we hit the Union Street social probably 4 out of the 6 days or whatever. So
Yeah.
we had a good team dinner there after the race. And back at the dorm room in the edit, I'm a sucker for a good Snickers ice cream.
Right on. And are you doing that dorm life in Emporia State?
Yeah, the past 2 years we were in the dorm life. So
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy. Although the alternative is like paying someone's mortgage payment for the year.
yeah,
So,
exactly. I think yeah, Cam was actually in the at the Shimano house. They had that big
okay.
mansion. I can't remember what street it was at, but
Yeah.
he had a good spot. But we were up in the dorms.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah,
So when you're editing and do you do all your own color grading?
yeah.
Okay. And for like everybody that's not in our world, we just spoke in like another language to them. But say that you're color grading or like editing where you're not worried about hearing dialogue. Do you have music on during this?
During color grading.
Yeah.
Oh, like not the video, not
Right.
the music I'm using in the video, but like other
Right.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
look forward to that. Like once I'm done, when I'm picture locked, I'm like, finally I can like stop the dialogue. I can throw on some music, and I can just grade everything.
Yep. Yeah. And what are we listening to in this case? What is the Danny Awang Spotify color grading mix?
That's a good question. I guess it's in line with whatever I'm listening to at the moment. Sometimes if I find a good YouTube like hour long mix of like some synth wave or classical. I mean, I'll go any end of the spectrum. But yeah, typically, I don't know. Lately, I've been on some Ben Howard or Odessa. Um, but I don't know. It could change on
Okay.
an hourly
Yeah.
basis.
Oh, for sure. Especially when you're working in the studio. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
whatever the mood hits. So, okay. So we have a theoretical question, and I promise that it's theoretical. Uh, Say that the Holy Spirit of Gravel and I were to host a karaoke night in Emporia.
Oh God.
and and you were to attend, and of course, like you're all in the company of friends, so you're gonna sing a song. What song are you gonna sing for us?
Ooh, you got to pick something that's like a crowd.
Oh yeah, so
Something you can't go niche on the karaoke
no, no,
party.
no, no, no. Here, I will let you think for a little bit while I tell a story. In my classroom, I teach middle schoolers all day, and like for a free bonus point in their test this last week, they had to answer this question essentially. Although I didn't tell them we're going to Kansas, but a lot of them struggled, and I finally said to them, it's got to fit one of two criteria. Either everybody's going to sing with you because they're having a good time with you. And I didn't tell them because everybody's holding a like red Solo cup and kind of stumbling over each other. But the second criteria would be that they don't know the song, but you're so enthusiastic and it's such a fun song. Everybody in the place is cheering for you. So if you can fit in those two criteria, it's a good karaoke song. And then I always add
Yes.
that I've never done karaoke in my life. This is just me basing it on like what I've seen in TV and such. So, anyways, what are
Yeah.
you going to sing at this really awesome activation?
It probably, depending on the crowd, uh, maybe this may be recency bias on my listening history. Don't Look Anger by Oasis might hit that. Also, I don't know if that's niche or not niche. Or like In the End by Linkin Park or something. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah. That would be
I don't know. Maybe I'm
fantastic.
exposing my lack of music taste here.
You are not. I'll be singing along with you as I hold my cup. So,
Perfect.
yeah. Okay. Very important next question. Are you into Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?
Um, I'm very uncultured when it comes to Harry Potter, but I'm familiar with Lord of the Rings. I'm a fan.
Okay. Okay. Well, then we can move on from that one.
Yeah.
How many stamps do you have in your passport?
Ooh. Uh Quite a few. Unless, well, I guess technically if you go to the EU, you kind of get one no matter how many you go to, I think. Um maybe 10, maybe
Ooh.
8.
Okay. That's much more
If
impressive than what Brett said.
Oh yeah. What do you say 1?
One. It's like Switzerland was the first time I got out of the
Yeah.
country. It's
Yeah.
great.
I
Okay.
enjoy my fair share of getting out and about.
And has most of that travel for you been affiliated with work, or has it been just like for pleasure?
Um I would say probably most of it's like for pleasure.
Okay.
Um whether it's, trips. Well, I guess, recently a lot of work. Um but a good mix, but yeah.
Right on. Okay. So let's talk about magic spot in a race that you have filmed at. Uh, and this is where it's funny because like to me, some of the magic spots I got to be in this year were in Nebraska and Kansas. And so
Yeah.
when you think about somewhere you've gotten to be while filming, where you're just standing around, like we said, chopping it up with people, or maybe you're just there by yourself and you're like, man, this is really beautiful and this is really cool to be here right now. If you had to like narrow it down to one or two, what would you say are those magic spots for you?
Ooh. Uh I mean, this summer at the Tour de France Femmes was
Ooh,
probably that's kind of an easy answer. I think especially on the later stages, being in the Alps, I was like, that whole trip was kind of a blur with, barely remembering where I was at. But the last couple days I was like, this is nuts and I gotta spend more time here.
Yeah.
So like Châtel or Saint Gervais, like those places are like I was like a bike race is happening here. This is kind of nuts.
Were you
So
there? Were you there? Excuse me. Were you there with EF this year, or who were? How did you end up at the Tour de France Film?
yeah, yeah, I was basically doing race TV, which is like their kind of YouTube content, daily race coverage at the tour, which Taylor Cruz is a good friend. He basically does all the in-house kind of work for EF, but um, he was at the men's tour doing daily videos for 21 stages, and this year there was a bit of overlap, so he tapped me to see if I could come in um, with the women's team and basically do the 9 stages plus a couple days with them, which was an incredible experience.
Yeah. And were you having to turn the edit on that too?
Yeah, so that was overnight edits. So I mean, the average was asleep by 3 or 4. Did a couple all nighters. So yeah, that was that was kind of brutal, but it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever worked on.
Yeah, that's
Worth it.
that's crazy talk right there. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So let's talk about you. You've been to a lot of races. It's kind of similar to the last question, but it's a two-parter. I want to hear about the race you've been to that is your favorite, whether it's because of a story that happened there or just because of the beauty of it. And then the second part would be: is there a race that you have not been to yet, somewhere that you're just like, man, I
Hmm.
would really like to go work that?
Yeah. I guess I mean this year, I mean it's this year is probably easy to pick a lot of like favorite race. Obviously, Cam winning Unbound was unreal. Being at the tour was unreal. I think those two are probably the biggest like things that come to mind first, just on, I think at the tour, like the scale of it and like, yeah, just like being like as a fan of the sport, it was very surreal to be there. And
Yeah,
to also be kind of embedded with a team is very like a special opportunity. Um, and Cam for obvious reasons, but
yeah,
um, I don't know. I'm very, I think, I guess like my perspective, like bucket list of races is like I'm really excited actually. I think I'll make my way out to Hulst for the cyclocross worlds in February. Just like that's a kind of a really cool venue that I didn't get to go to last year. And having worlds there would be pretty cool.
yeah,
And I'd love to go to some mountain bike World Cups because I've yet to attend one in person. And yeah, I mean, LA 2028 would be pretty rad to be there as well,
yes,
for obvious reasons. So yeah, and I think honestly, I mean, just to put it out there, I'm a big fan of like mainstream traditional sports as well.
sure,
So getting to work, I mean, like I go to games as a fan, but to work, you know I'm not really like taking steps actively right now to make my way into that world, but
yeah,
whether it's like ice hockey or basketball or football or soccer, like
yeah,
those kind of sports really fascinate me as well.
yeah. No, those are all amazing things to think about,
Yeah.
and I guess what keeps, I guess, you know, my follow up to that would be what keeps you rooted in this sport right now?
Like into bikes
Yeah,
specifically.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think I feel very like embedded in it and just really connected to all the people that are in it. And I think for me, like it's like obviously I love bike racing in general, but
yeah,
for me it's the people in
yeah,
any like in anything you do is almost like the most important thing. And, getting to work with the people that I work with, and, you know, the places I get to go. And yeah, I think honestly also like the flexibility of it. Like it's not very flexible because, the race day is the race day. You got to be available. Um, but I don't know. I've invested, I guess the past 4 or 5 years into it, and it's been going really well, and I love it. So like, I'll keep riding the wave as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible, man. Well, Danny, thank you
Yeah,
so much for taking time today to chat and just be open about what you're doing and your heart and your passion for this. And yeah, thank you for being here.
yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with Danny and me today. Do me a favor, and if you enjoyed this episode, if there were things that spoke to you, or you know somebody else who might enjoy hearing them, do me a favor and share this episode with them so they can hear it as well. It has been an amazing 2025 here at the Stable Cyclist podcast, and I want to thank every single one of you who has been a real one this year and has been hanging out and sharing the pod and being a regular listener and contributor. We have an amazing month in front of us still in December with a couple of late surprises for you. So more than anything, I do hope you have a great day today, and most importantly, I hope you remember that you are loved.